Over the last 8 days on the channel, we've been buying Bitcoin in these extreme fearful times. Let's take a look at past events when we were also buying Bitcoin in extreme times and how that has played out. I'll also mention and discuss a potential selling strategy in order to protect those profits. Now more than ever, people are realizing the benefits to slowing down, taking some profits, and not getting swept up with the maximalist mindsets that always occur every single bull market. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button as well. This is what we cover here day in, day out, crypto investing. And also the link to any of the spreadsheets I'm looking at today will be in the top of the video description with our TIA Lite members, our Investor Accelerator members. So link is in the top of the video description. Let's crack on with the video. First up, we need to explain what it is that we're doing, looking at different plans and rules to enter and exit the market, and then of course, look at some of the results. A quick mention to the video sponsors, Bybit, link is in the video description. Get up to $4,000 of sign-up bonuses. If you are looking to trade on leverage, definitely make sure you check out this channel and Michael Pizzino's channel. I'll leave a link in the video description to learn about that. But otherwise, they do have spot trading and you can stake your cryptos to earn cryptocurrency rewards on there. And it's also no KYC. So you don't need to go and get wrecked. You can, in fact, earn crypto on those platforms as well. And also SwiftX for Aussie guys, doing the same things, buying spot. And of course, you can stake your cryptos on SwiftX as well. Link is in the video description. So we're looking at Fear and Greed Index, the crypto Fear and Greed Index to assess the market sentiment. Yesterday or this morning, we had 14 and yesterday was 10. So the idea here is that we want to be looking at times of extreme fear of 15 or under. Now, I know some people have taken this plan and adjusted it for themselves and started to buy crypto at 16 or above, maybe a smaller position. That's up to them. And the beauty about this is you can take it for yourself and turn it into your own plan. That's the best way to ever invest, to ever trade, is to learn something and then work it out for yourself so that it suits your goals. All right. So first thing is looking at what we're doing when we're going to buy. So on our plan here, we're looking at times that we want to be buying Bitcoin, and that is at 15 or less, because that's the extreme fear times. Going back and checking that out on the historic data of the Fear and Greed Index. Now, exit triggers at a loss, definitely important. That's your stop loss. And I know now it's probably the best time for people to really appreciate the time or the piece to put into the puzzle of their plan is to exit, whether it's a loss or exit at a profit. At the time that I had this in May of 2021, this is all out on the channel, plenty of receipts and videos on the channel talking at this, looking at this specifically. I did mention it is possible to sell on the way up to reduce your risk, your exposure to the market. And at the time, because the market is so bullish, of course, I get laughed at, you get called all sorts of names, but that's part of the game. That is part of the market. You would have seen that people that are just bullish only basically get wrecked at the end of the day. The other flip side to this is selling at a loss as well. So I also looked at that and made mentions of different areas you could sell for a loss to reduce your risk in case the market kept falling further. And again, it's met with the same sort of criticisms. Doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I've seen it for 5 years in crypto, 16 years in investing altogether. It happens every single cycle. And when this market comes back again, looking at taking profits on the way up, I'll be met with the same sort of resistance, and possibly you will too if you try to talk about it to other people who are only just getting in the market. They don't want to hear about actually selling out for a profit when it's too soon. So take that and move forward with it and make it your own plan. So we're looking at exit triggers loss. Today, we're just going to look at exit triggers to protect our capital. It's going to be one of the biggest ones there. So it's like risk managing if we are looking to start to sell out of some of that crypto just to get our exposure in the market a little bit further down so that our break-even point gets further and further away from the market as it rises. And then in case it does come back down, our exit point or our break-even point is much further down. So that just allows us to have a little bit more breathing room, and we can sleep easier at night as well, knowing that we've taken some profit off the table, taken some capital out of the market, and that our break-even point is much, much further down. The plan's made very simply, just looking at the times to be buying, because it's very difficult to buy in the extreme fear. And that doesn't necessarily mean the market can't go down further either. We're currently at 30K. We could go down to 20K, 15K. No one knows for sure. The market will let us know when time is right. So over the last 8 days, I've been buying Bitcoin when the fear and greed plan has hit 15 or under. And in the past, we've been buying in May, June, July, again in January of 2022. You can see here on the plan 20 and under. Well, there's a 20 mark, there's a 10 mark. Then we go to 15 and under. That's basically a buy signal. Buy on open. When this thing refreshes, go for it. That's the opening price. That's the buy price. Okay. So the last 8 days, we dropped this down to a 1 month. You can see from the 9th is 11, 10, 12, 12, 10, 9, 10, 14. And we're starting to climb out of that, at least for now. So going across to the chart, 9th open is 34,033. We now know that that was a pretty high price, but on the 8th, that's when the market started to get really fearful, and then the fear and greed index prints its new number here, this measure, the following day. So that's why the 9th on the open is time to buy, because you just don't know how far this is going to fall. It may have only fallen to 32 or 33K, which was the previous bottom, right? Or could have fallen to 29K, which was the bottoms back in May of 2021. You just don't know. Okay, next open, you can see here the 10th, that was at 30,078. Next open is 31,002. Next open, 28,978, and so on and so forth. Now we put all of those numbers into our table over here, and that prints us out our total amount that we have, and then we'll have a look at the averages as well. So that's basically how it's used. Very, very simple. If we look at the course of the last 12 months, we have total invested of 26K, almost one Bitcoin. We're at 0.775 of a Bitcoin. The profit is no profit. It's a negative 2,400, and the return is negative 9%. But this obviously keeps you out of buying all of those peaks as well. So take the good with the bad. Investing is challenging, but assessing your risk is the biggest game here as well. So let's take a look at the example of how to reduce the amount, and then look at what our averages are, and how to move forward, adding in a layer of protection. So we're going to focus on the first 12 trades that we made using this plan. That was in May, June, and July of 2021. The entry prices are all listed right here. The amounts, $1,000 each hit. Now, if you don't have 1,000 every time the market comes to the entry point, or you need to take a trade, just adjust it. $100, $10, whatever it is for you. 10 grand it could be. Okay, so here's the total amount of Bitcoin going in. Our average price for these first 12 trades was $34,000. Of course, we'll just use some round numbers just to get an idea here, so that we can implement ways to reduce our exposure to the market. The most important thing, which people are really appreciating right now, as they were not appreciating middle to late of 2021. Our total amount of Bitcoin is 0.3538. So for a round number, I'm going to use 0.36. The purpose here is to get the idea of how this is going to work. So we now know we have 34,000 as our average Bitcoin price. We now have 0.36 of a Bitcoin, so just a little over 1/3 of a BTC. What can we do next? Looking at the chart and where all these purchases came in, I've got an average line here drawn on the yellow mark here. So the yellow you can see is at around $34,000. That came through May. This is a weekly chart, a weekly bar chart, just taking as much noise away as possible. And then we bought again in June. You can see the market drop down. We bought again in June. We bought again in July. This totaled our 12 purchases, which were basically a few underneath this level and a few above, to give us that average price of $34,000. Now I'm going to introduce a rule. We're going to sell some of our portfolio when the market moves up 50%. Of course, I've chosen just a number here to give you an example. You could choose whatever. It could be 40% up. It could be 100% up. So we now know if our average price is $34,000, if it was 100%, well, we would sell some at $68,000. And the market only just barely got there. But you have to remember what the emotional times are during that part of the market. That was going to new all-time highs, and we had not seen new all-time highs for 6 months. People were so excited for that to possibly be the case of the market moving up higher and higher. To try and sell at that point is emotionally very hard, because all you're hearing is bullish news. It was absolutely everywhere. The next week, you would have loved to have sold at 68,000. But alas, we're here looking at just selling at a 50% increase on our average position. So that price then is, of course, a $51,000 Bitcoin. 34,000, 50% increase. That's of course $17,000. Add that to your 34K. We're sitting at $51,000. So we're going to sell some. Here, I'm going to say, let's sell a third of our Bitcoin. So we're at 0.36. Let's sell about a third of that. How do all of these numbers look? That first sell is going to come late August, early September of 2021. Now for the fun part of how all of these numbers are going together. All right, let's start over here. Now this is a little bit scrappy, bear with me. 12K is what we have invested. If you remember back to our Fear and Greed plan, you can see we had 12 purchases of $1,000 each, 12 grand into the market. Okay, we're going to sell a third of our capital. Okay, so that was $4,000. We're not selling a third of the Bitcoin. We're selling a third of the money we have invested because the goal here is to become risk-free, meaning no more of our initial capital into the market. I go specifically into this sort of stuff with our members in the Investor Accelerator. I've left a link in the top of the video description if you want to learn more about this. This is how I trade my altcoin portfolios to become risk-free as soon as possible while still maintaining enough in the market to give me that really big upside potential that we all know altcoins have. 4K, that's what we're selling. So we want to be left with $8,000 in the market. We're selling a third of it. We still have more in the market to go on and make great things. Okay, average price here is $34,000. That's what we have here. So we want to figure out what our new average price is. The total amount of Bitcoin, as a round number, we have 0.36 of a Bitcoin, and that now is at $51,000. Okay, because remember the market has gone up here. Get my Bitcoin chart. There it is right there. So at 51K, market's moved up. It's taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks before we could sell some, reduce that initial capital. Okay, so that leaves us with 0.28. So how did I get to that point? Well, the 0.36 of a Bitcoin is now worth approximately 18,000. I think it's about 18.4, but for round numbers, to keep this as easy as possible because there is a lot of data here, we're now going to sell $4,000 of that. So that's what we've done. We have 18K. We're going to sell 4 of that because we want to get our initial capital back down as soon as possible. Now we have $14,000 in the market, and that is at 0.28 of a Bitcoin. What is our average price? How much were we able to get this down by? A quick way I like to figure out what the average price is go $8,000, so the money I still have in the market, divide that by the amount that I have, and that will give me the average price that I've had to pay for that remaining Bitcoin. So in this case, our average price is $28,571. For a round number, let's say $28,600. So our new average price is now $28,600. So we're able to reduce our exposure to the market by a third, by 33%. We only have $8,000 invested. If the market ever was to fall back to 28,600, we'd be at break even rather than at 34. And then we can just start to layer this on top of each other as the market increases. Sell another third if we get another 50% rise, and so on until we've removed all or most of our capital out of the market. That's a nice easy way to reduce your exposure to the market and make the selling process mechanical, not to get those emotions involved. So our average price now for Bitcoin that we've purchased over the last 8 days is $30,450. So you can see we've totaled these up, and that's what we have right now. So if we do the same thing, we would add another 15 grand on top of the average. That's going to be about a $45,000 Bitcoin to start to reduce our position. That's just for this particular purchase of the last 8 days. Now 45K is pretty far up the market, especially while the market is in a much more bearish state than it was last year. So maybe you want to bring that down a little bit to some of the resistance levels and maybe just skim a little bit off just to make you feel a little bit better like you're taking some of those profits. There's many, many ways to skin this particular cat in the market. So make sure you've got an idea of what you want to achieve and where those targets are for you, taking in mind where those resistance points are further up on the market. Like I have here, I'm looking somewhere around that $34,500, potentially up to these lows of about $37,000 to $38,000 before the market is possibly met with some resistance and we see a little bit of a retreat. Selling crypto isn't just about going to spend it and buying the next Lamborghini. It is quite dry, and I'm glad if you stuck with me throughout that video to understand just one way of many thousands and thousands of ways to exit a market or take some of that capital back. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Leave me an emoji with toilet paper. We can call it paper hands, but I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below if you enjoyed that sort of video to keep yourself safe, your money. We can dive more into that. Comments down below. Otherwise, join us on Monday mornings at the Investor Accelerator. I've left a link in the top of the video description if you want to join us over there. And of course, thanks to our sponsors, Bybit and SwiftX, thousands of dollars of sign-up bonuses. Link in the description. I'll see you guys at the next video. Until then, have more fun to get more done.